the love revolution.
Yes.
I feel like there was a kind of a heavy spiritual revolution that I was doing up to maybe about a couple years ago, and it's like,
Yes.
you see this, there was a certain place where I just couldn't go, and so
Right.
there had to be this movement into something, and it's a different direction. It's a direction of you're bowing all the way down, so now you're offering, and you're offering almost your humility and surrender to something. And so it's been quite a journey these last 2 years, sort of just moving into that, and it feels like there's been some sort of completion and resolve in some ways. And just this last week I go, just like you were saying with the overall love of it, oh my God, that was actually just preparatory for something, so I'm feeling that, and you were just speaking of it, but I'm feeling it at a personal level. It's like, oh my goodness, this is really, there's something else coming, and I'm not quite sure what.
Good.
But
yes, I will say that our greatest offering of surrender is not surrendering our humanity, but we surrender through the willingness to be human. The most awake beings will act human. Now, they may not act out the human condition, because what it is to be human doesn't necessarily involve conditioning, because a human being is the highest manifestation of God in form. Now, that includes a being who is conditioned, but when a being goes through the blossoming process, it becomes the fragrance of that blossom flower. And so our greatest surrender is to be human. And spontaneously, you will one day no longer get angry, no longer get disappointed, no longer get triggered. But until then, it must be okay for you to have every experience that you have, simply because you're having it. And to know that your only recourse of action is to love the self that feels and acts the way it feels and acts, and knowing that it's only feeling and acting this way to try to gain your attention and earn your approval. So if you want to take the boldest leap in consciousness, don't make the self work hard to earn your attention and approval. Just hand it over all the time. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love you. Mm-hmm. I love you. And your practice is that when you're interacting with other people, you practice. Every person I talk to, I get more honest, more soft, more gentle. And then the next person, I get more soft, honest, and gentle. And as I practice all day being more soft and gentle than the last interaction, it will prepare me so that when I'm alone, I can be that soft and gentle and honest with myself. So we practice being with others the way we're going to be with ourselves. Then we act with ourselves the way that further motivates us to share that with other people.
And part of that, it can actually be, there's an experience of, it can be scary out there, the type of vulnerability that we're offering. So part of that gentleness is both easing ourselves into it, but actually it feels like just being on that edge. Yes. Not too far, not like beating myself up and trying to put myself in situations that are too far, but as you say, everybody you meet, there's that opportunity to
Right. Well, are you under the impression that the feedback that they give you is about you, or are you aware that their feedback is just showing you where they're at in their journey?
I can still be confused about that one.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's a pattern that, got conditioned in pretty heavy for pretty long.
So let me give you the theme of this chapter for you, and it'll make it easier. The reason why other people are not responding to you, they're showing you their conditioning. But the reason you mix that up is because what you're learning to do is you're learning to be nourished by the love you give, not by the validation that they give you in response to your giving. See, what you're still hooked into is, I'm going to love you, and then I'm going to wait, and now it's your turn, and we're going to play a game of fairness. And that's when life brings you people that will not play fair at all. And it's the greatest teaching in the world, because you will learn you're only going to be nourished by your giving, because people can only give to you when they're loving themselves. So your love and vulnerability is teaching them how they should act in private, and them not validating you is letting your love purify itself in its purest form of giving.
And when they're not validating, there can be a stinging, but it's really I find that what's offered, it is that invitation to
Yes.
love. There is this way that it's totally opening the door. It's right there
Right.
to offer that to myself, to find ways. It's like totally a key into where I'm not
Sure.
doing right in that moment.
So try this out loud, Ken, and we can all do it together. I don't love others to open their heart.
I don't love others to open their heart.
I love others to open my heart.
I love others to open my heart.
And if other hearts are opened as a result,
And if other hearts are opened as a result,
then that's wonderful.
then that's wonderful.
But that's not my focus.
But that's not my focus.
Their heart will open when they choose to open it.
Their heart will open when they choose to open it.
And the love I give them
And the love I give them
is because I'm choosing to open my heart now.
is because I'm choosing to open my heart now.
And that's the power of my own love.
And that's the power of my own love.
So you have to get out of the habit of thinking that the love you give people is going to open their heart. It's only going to open yours. And once your heart is open, then other people can start opening their heart to you, reflecting back the heart that's already open in you.
Beautiful.
So one who can walk into a room and blast everyone's hearts open is someone who's not under the impression that their love is going to open any hearts. And that's what makes them so powerful. You have to be not under the impression of the effect in order to be a catalyst that manifests such an effect. So if you're trying to manifest a certain effect, you will experience trying to manifest that effect, and you'll even manifest people that are trying to receive that effect, but there will be no effect. Someone who's not under the impression that they're there to create an effect is the most effective manifestation there is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's like once a light worker said to me, my intention is I walk into a room and I'm there to open everyone's heart. I said, if you really want to be powerful, you walk into a room and hold the space to only open your heart. Once your heart is open, everything shines in beauty.
You spoke of, I was quite moved when you said you will be here sort of for eternity or something like that, to be loving and holding somebody else. There's that type of absolute commitment, which is speaking, it sounds like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's some potency of real, of just that stance that's the transformative power, I think you're speaking of.
Right.
Which is a little bit opposite of what we would be inclined to think about.
course. Well, because our love is conditional because we've made other plans. Love doesn't have alternate plans. I don't have alternate plans. I'm here loving you. So join me.
Pleasure.
Wonderful. And that is true spirituality. Not that anything is untrue spirituality. It's just not always useful spirituality. It's not functional, practical spirituality. Remember, if you wouldn't say it to a 5-year-old in pain, throw it away. It's neat to go to a workshop, do this and do that. I say this, you say that. Wow, we had a cool experience. If you wouldn't say it to a 5-year-old child, there's no point.
Is that the heart? That 5-year-old, this is the quality of the heart, is we have this way that our minds actually develop this whole language which really departs from the essence of our heart and the language and the way we speak. So it's really just returning to that language and being of.
Yes. I mean, think of when you were a child. What was most effective in your memory? Someone who loved you? Or someone who was overly mechanical and let me explain what's happening? Who cares about that?
Well, there was a point, a little while ago, where it was almost like I rediscovered that, whatever it was, the heart, that 5-year-old, and it was like, oh my God, I've exiled this, I guess, my heart for I was taught at some point there was this movement away from this fundamental aspect of self.
That's okay.
Yeah.
The greatest demonstration of your wisdom is your willingness to be free from it. What good is any wisdom if it doesn't make people feel safe in your presence?
Mm-hmm.
And if the only objective is to make people feel safe in your presence, you don't need wisdom for that. And the desire to be free from your wisdom is how you become the wisdom, not the collector and remember and repeater of it.
Yeah.
That's very different.
And you can totally feel
feel
that
it.
and know that. Yeah.
You can feel it. Of course. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom is only potent when you dare to be without it.
If wisdom isn't like carried or like sort of embedded in love,
Right.
it can't be received.
Right. Right. People only receive my words because of how they feel in the presence of the words. My words surrender hearts because of where the words come from, not because of
Yeah.
how my words are arranged. I don't arrange my words. I transmit love, and love speaks whatever it wants to say.
I get this sense of this field, this very, it's bursting and alive and of love. There's,
Yes.
and it almost feels like you're really solid. You're just settled in that,
Yes.
so to speak. And you're speaking of that this is possible, and there's an invitation into this. It's not
Yes.
like anybody has to do it.
No.
Check in,
No.
feel. It's like already been done. It's already all over.
It's not even come into the water. It's
like, yeah.
You realize-
Notice you're like drenched like crazy. Yeah.
Notice
You're
the
submerged.
water you're in. Exactly. Exactly. It's a recognition of what is a realization is the recognition of what's already so. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And again, what matters is how often we love ourselves.
Yeah.
Because even the now I get it doesn't matter at a certain point. Doesn't matter. And what's even funnier about like self-realization, enlightenment, whether it's from a non-duality point of view, whatever it is, doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you think you found the answer, because one who is really woken up isn't someone who knows the answer. It's one who's been liberated from the argument. It's one who's no longer hypnotized by questions. It's one who no longer thinks questions have answers. Questions just invite love to be directed. That's the real answer. Someone asks a question, I love you. That's what a self-realized being knows.
That waking up or that liberation, so to speak, that's what it does. It actually liberates so that love, there isn't any obstacle.
That's right.
For that flow, that feeling, that to just be celebrated all the time. There's no need to like hang on to the
Right.
liberation. That's
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's called waking up from waking up. Ultimate spirituality. Just love.
Yeah, it's pretty simple and
And at the same time, it's potent.
yeah.
Has to be simple. If it wasn't simple, then there would be a case of you're doing it right, you're doing it wrong, and then we'd really be in trouble. We're all doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
We just could afford to support ourselves more.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Always an honor.
Likewise.
Thank you.